Well, good evening, everybody. We will not have Stefanos joining us tonight. Shit happens, and that's all there is to say about it. Now, who I do have for us tonight is Cal Washington from the In Power movement, and a very interesting story. I came across this gentleman. I've heard about him over the last couple of years, but I don't know. I just couldn't grasp what they were talking about. And then I seen some presentations he did, especially with the Canadian contingent that was down at Acapulco. It's kind of starting to make sense, but I don't know. It's just you guys be the judge. If this is real, and it seems to be real, what Cal stumbled upon could be our saving grace. Without ado, let me bring in Cal Washington from Vancouver, BC. He's a Canadian and an American, right?
And an American, yes. I'm an American born in Canada, put it that way.
Anyways, guys, share this out. This is going to be a huge one. You know, we're heavily shadow banned. Nobody wants to hear the truth, especially the government, because that's what we do here at the lounge. And this will be a dry episode of a lounge because we got a lot to cover. Let's get on with it. Cal, what happened?
What happened to me or to
this? What happened? Lex Mercatori, you stumbled upon this, correct?
Yeah.
So give us a backstory on how this came about.
Well, I was involved with a court case, which is normal, divorce and then child support. And the lawyers took our home, left us high and dry, and so became a self-litigant. And I didn't like what was happening in there in the court. It wasn't what I thought how court should be, the way I was, whatever was put in my head. And so I started searching and, read a lot of acts, thinking that was the answer. It wasn't, because even if I had the best arguments and I could see the look on the judge's face, like, whoa, still ruling against you. And I'm like, well, what is this?
Okay, hang on a second. Stop right there. There's different courts of law, correct? Was this civil, criminal? What was it?
It was, it would have been civil. It wasn't criminal. This would have been like a child support divorce type thing. Very normal. Like millions of people are going through this.
So it's family court, and the jurisdiction is civil jurisdiction.
Yes, Provincial Court of British Columbia.
Okay, thank you. Keep going.
Yeah.
Jurisdiction matters, people.
It does matter. But what I found, because I thought, I was supposed to be dealing in acts, but I was coming up with really good arguments in the acts, and they just seemed to ignore it. So I'm like, well, what is this? Like, you're not even paying attention. I thought this was a law and you have to follow this, but they were like, didn't care. So I'm like, well, where am I? And so, I started finding these guys that were talking about free man on the land and birth certificate and capitalized name and all kinds of stuff that just was like, what are you guys even talking? Similar to you, is like, what is this? This sounds like nonsense. What do you mean a capitalized name? Like, who cares, right? But as I started hanging around with some of these people and looking up what they were talking about, I went, okay, there's something going on here. So I tried that in the court. Okay, you don't have no jurisdiction over me because I'm not the legal, the capitalized name on the birth certificate. Well, that didn't work either. All I did was get arrested, pepper sprayed, and all that stuff.
That's that free man on the land stuff, right?
Yeah, and anything to do with the name game or any of that stuff, none of that worked for me. Like, it had some value, and I believe it. I believe it. But the court had already, by the time I was using it, the court had already figured all that out and knew exactly what, how to talk over you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and guys, so this is why we keep saying stay away from the free man on the land stuff. This is not that, correct?
This is not that. No, I understand that stuff, and but this. So one thing led to another. Now I'm reading about the driver's license, and so I drove without I rescinded my driver's license and I drove without insurance for 2.5 years. And so I learned a lot through that because I got pulled over about once a month and all kinds of different things happened. Sat in the back of police cars a few times and, did days in jail on the child support thing, like overnights. And, I went through the hard way. I went through the tough way where you're getting arrested and all that. So one thing leads to another. Now I've got a child support case going, a driving without insurance case going, and then I ended up with a second one, driving without insurance, because I got pulled over again. And so I'm in court. I'm in court like every month at least, sometimes twice a month, sometimes twice a week on different cases.
Okay, so we're talking family court. That's civil. And then you got provincial offenses for the no insurance.
Yeah,
different jurisdiction again, right?
That's under that's under the Motor Vehicle Act. So that's what's governing that. So that's again provincial court of British Columbia, and I don't know what jurisdiction you put it in. I put it in civil. That's where I would put it. But as we get into this talk, there's another jurisdiction that they hid. And that's the one that I discovered. And that's law merchant. And it changes the game once you understand that that's there. Because now you can go, oh, I see what you're doing now. I see what this is. I see where that, and everything started to make sense as to why I was losing when I was arguing with acts. Because I was arguing. And they even told me, you need to do written submission. You need to write your arguments down and do a written argument. So I wrote argument right on the very front of the thing, big letters. This is my argument. And I lost because I was arguing. And so this is the trick. So in law merchant, you don't argue, you settle. Everything is settling. Everything is treating your opponent as honor, which follows the biblical thing of settle with your brother on the way to court. And it's a biblical principle. So they're following that, and they trick us into putting forth arguments. And so once I figured that out, I went, okay, now I see what's going on in here. This is all this is a business, and I need to treat it as a business, because at the end of the day, that's what they're there for. They're there to make money. And if I think that there's something else, I'm going to lose. So once I got onto this commerce thing, and I stumbled onto it, I went to a seminar, Winston Show seminar, and he was just the next guy that I was going to try, because I was trying all kinds of different things. And so I did the process, and I bonded a case that was already running, and the judge ran out of the room.
Okay, back up here. What do you mean by you bonded a case? What does that mean?
That means I indemnified the case based on the value of my birth certificate. This is me after the fact, reverse engineering it. But when I was doing it, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing the process, and then the guy ran out of the room. So I went, okay, what did I just do? Like, what? And first of all, we tried it again to make sure it wasn't a coincidence. And then it became very clear after, I don't know, 8 judges, all strange behavior, that what we're doing has some merit, because they're all afraid of it. And it's consistent. Every judge wants to get off the case, like changes something. One guy gave me the room. One judge wouldn't call a case unless I was there, and it wasn't even my case. I was there as just watching, but they wouldn't call a case unless I was in the room, because I had bonded it. Yeah. See, this is all the behavior I saw. And this was not the behavior I saw when I was getting pepper sprayed and arrested and all that. Now the judges are afraid of me. So I went, okay, what is this? What's the cause of this? because I can see the paperwork, but I don't fully understand it. What I came to understand is that there is this jurisdiction called law merchant that is in the courts, and it was put in there in the 1700s, and then they just stopped talking about it.
Okay.
And then they don't teach it at law school, so the lawyers don't even know it's there.
Okay, and you're not a lawyer either, are you?
Nope.
Mind if we ask what you do professionally, or?
I was in construction up until, and right now I work full time for Empower.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a construction salesman. I built sunrooms and glass roofs and like a glazer, specialty type construction. So I wasn't. I knew how to frame. I had been a framer, but I was more a glazer. Did fancy glass roofs and stuff like that. So just so you can understand that what I'm saying is true. It's not a theory. I will give you if I can share. Where do I share here?
You've got the little TV there. It says at the bottom, you'll see share screen.
Yeah.
And you can share any tab that's open on your browser.
Screen one, and I'm not sure which one's screen one.
Is it titled?
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
I see a blank page. Oh, there we go. Something's coming up.
Okay, so let me see if I can go into oh, that's no good. If I go into slideshow, what happens? Okay. Anyway, so this is just a little background on this. This is Amstel Mayor Rothschild. Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes its laws. So that tells you that there's a bunch of beings who are running the world, and the governments have really nothing to do with it. There's a whole other level to everything, and unless you understand that, you're banging your head against the wall. And I did it. I banged my head against the wall till it was bleeding. So, and the few who understand the system will either be so interested in its profits or so dependent on its favors that there will be no opposition from that class. They were not expecting anybody to figure this out, and yet anybody that does figure it out would want to get in on it because there's a lot of money, etc., involved. So here's the Financial Administration Act. So this is what I want you to understand. This is the definitions. This is the definition of money. So money includes negotiable instruments. Your people may know about the word includes, but it's irrelevant here whether it's expansive or contractive. Money, negotiable instruments are money, whether this is the only money or whether it's also money. It doesn't matter. Negotiable instruments are money. And then the next definition is negotiable instrument, and that includes any check, draft, traveler's check, these things we've all heard of. This one we've not heard of. It's called a bill of exchange. Postal notes we've heard of, money orders, postal remittance, and any other similar instrument. This leaves it pretty open.
So that's
there's a lot of things.
Silver and gold coins.
What's that?
Silver and gold coins, Bitcoin.
No, this is negotiable instruments. These are paper mostly.
Okay.
So any other similar instrument, it has to be a negotiable instrument. Now, you could call silver and gold instruments, but in most definitions, this is paper money. All these things are on paper. And so the bill of exchange is the key to this because that's another thing they're hiding. But a bill of exchange is money. So a bill of exchange is a negotiable instrument, and a negotiable instrument is money. And then here's what a bill of exchange is. It's an unconditional order in writing addressed by one person to another, signed by the person giving it, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at a fixed determinable future time, a sum certain in money, to or to the order of a specified person or bearer. It's a run-on sentence, so it kind of is designed to confuse you. Again, they're trying to hide this. But any piece of paper that has an order that somebody orders somebody else to pay somebody else an exact amount on a certain date, and both parties are mentioned on it, or three parties even, that's a bill of exchange, and that is money.
Is that not a common check?
No, a check is similar, but a check is here. The difference between a check and a bill of exchange, the biggest difference is a check is drawn on a bank account. A bill of exchange is identical, and it's not on a bank account. In other words, you create money on the spot.
An IOU?
An IOU. Actually, this is an order to pay. An IOU is a similar instrument called a promissory note. This is an order to pay. So I'm not promising to pay. I'm ordering you, Ed, to pay Stefanos $100 on July the 4th.
Okay, good thing he's not here. So
I know. But what I'm saying is that order is the money. And that's the key that they understand and we don't. That's why it's hard for you to figure this out, because it doesn't make any sense. But I'm telling you, it's right here. An order to pay money is a negotiable instrument, and negotiable instruments are money. This is how they got rich. This is how the Rothschilds are the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers are the Rockefellers, and the Windsors are the Windsors. They understand all this, and they use this all the time, and we don't. We're the ones signing things, and then they take the instrument because we think it's a bill to collect money, and they're going, well, you can think that all you want, but the bill is the money, and they know it. So this is how banks, all credit card transactions.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You got to say that again, because if people are like me, their heads are starting to explode.
I know, because you're trained a different way. So it takes repetition. So you want to look at this act and look at this over and over until it sinks in. An order to pay money is money. Yeah. So let's go back to this. I had a child support order. So here's the definition of a bill of exchange. Now remember, this is money, the order itself. A bill of exchange is an unconditional order, child support order, in writing. They wrote them, addressed by one person, the judge, to another, me, signed by the person giving it, signed by the judge. He ordered me in writing, requiring the person to whom it is addressed, that's me, to pay on demand or at a fixed determinable future time once a month for your child support or your alimony or whatever it is. Doesn't even matter. It can be any order, a court order to pay money. A sum certain in money, X amount of dollars per month, to the order of a specified person, the mom, or the bearer, which means it could be to anybody. So
hang on. If a judge does this, what's the difference between a bill of exchange and extortion?
It's not extortion, but the order is the money in their world. So all they're looking for is people's names. They just need, I need a man and a wife in a divorce with a bunch of kids. That's what I need. I need lots of those. Get them in here. I'm going to write orders after order after order after order. They don't know it's money, but I do. And guess who keeps the original order? The court. So the court got paid the whole amount of the child support until those children are 19.
So
on a piece of paper.
Did you pay the court, or did someone else pay the court?
No, the court ordered me to pay my wife or ex-wife. But the piece of paper itself, the order, is money. It's the money to pay. They just don't tell you that. It's the biggest scam in the world. That's why you're shaking your head, because it doesn't make any sense, because we're trained the other way. We're trained to say the bill or the order is just an order to pay the money. And yes, it is. And we go around trying to pay this stuff. And most of the time we're paying twice. If the court orders to pay the court got paid twice, because the order is the money, and then you brought more money in. Oh, you didn't have to do that. You could have signed right here, but since you brought it in here, yeah, we'll take it.
So usually, back in my prior working life, I used to get purchase orders from companies, and would be a set document or a set of drawings or a demand to create the part, and then the financial amount attached to it. Those companies always paid when I had a purchase order.
Yes, they did. So a purchase order, in the order of things, is normal. That's like a bill of there's a bill, there's like an invoice, and then there's a bill of exchange. So bills of exchange are different. So they fall under this particular definition. So a purchase order is more like an invoice.
Well, essentially, it's a contract between.
Well, it's more of a demand to pay rather than and it's not a two-party thing. So, but a lot of those purchase orders in big commerce are bills of exchange. They use bills of exchange for that purpose, and the bill can be turned into money if you understand what's happening. The bankers all understand this.
Okay, we sure as hell don't. Well, I sure as hell don't.
No, you don't. But you do it all the time. When you went to the restaurant back in the day when credit cards first came out, you ate your meal. The waiter brought the bill, and then you put your credit card down on the thing, and then he took the credit card away, and then he stuck it in a machine, and he went ch-ch, and a bunch of writing went on paper. That's a bill of exchange, because it says your name is on the card, so it went on the paper, your credit card number, but mostly your name, and the restaurant's name was on there in the machine, so it went onto the piece of paper, and then he would write in the amount. So now you've got Ed needs to pay the keg and cleaver $100, and then there was a place for a tip, and then you would add up the total, and there's a date on it. And then the only one thing missing, and that is somebody has to sign it.
We usually sign those little slips.
Absolutely, you did. And as soon as your signature hit the page, it turned into money. What we're led to believe is it was like a bill, and it was sent to the credit card company, and then the credit card company gave the restaurant the money, and then you paid the credit card company back. That's not how it worked. The restaurant put it in their bank as if it was cash. They didn't understand it either. They were just told, put your credit cards here, put your cash here, put your checks here, put your gift certificates there, and you stick it all in the bank, and then your bank account goes up by the exact same amount. There was no delay.
Actually, there was back in those days, 2 to 3 business days, and the credit card company also took 2.5 to 3% of the gross amount.
Yes,
in Ontario.
They did, and they also, if you understand what I just told you, they got the whole amount of the purchase. They got the original bill. You see, they got this. That you got a copy of it, and then the original is sent to the credit card company, ChargeX or whatever it was. Their account went up by that much. That's how they're so rich. This is how banks do things. When you do a mortgage, you sign a promissory note that creates the money that they lend you, and then you pay back the money that you created plus interest. They get paid like 4 times.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's because they understand this and we don't. So, and here it is. I just want to show you that in the Uniform Commercial Code, I don't know if we have time to get into all of this, but I want to show you that law merchant is written in the Uniform Commercial Code. Yet nobody knows what this is. It's not taught at law school, but there it is. There's a jurisdiction. So unless displaced by particular provisions of the Uniform Commercial Code, so unless it says it's going to override something, the principles of law and equity, including the law merchant and the law relative capacity to contract, so contract law, principal and agent, that's a law merchant doctrine. It doesn't exist in admiralty. Estoppel, fraud, misrepresentation, duress, mistake, bankruptcy, and other validating, invalidating cause supplement its provisions. So the law merchant is what's ruling things unless this whole Uniform Commercial Code overrides it. So this is running in the background the whole time, and the judges know it. We don't.
So UCC, just so you guys know a little bit of history, I forget what year it was, but most of the provinces in Canada signed on to the UCC, and it took 10 or 20 years before all the provinces in Canada adopted it, correct?
Well, this is an American code, but, well, I mean, at the highest levels, Canada is a corporation that is subject to American law because it's registered at the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. So it has to follow this. But here it is right here. So this is Bills of Exchange Act in Canada, the rules of the common law of England, and judges and lawyers will tell you the common law there's no common law in Canada. Oh, really? Why is it written here? The rules of the common law of England, including the law merchant, save insofar as they are inconsistent with the express provisions of this act. So unless this act specifically says that it's going to override the law merchant, it applies to bills of exchange, notes, and checks. The law merchant is running in Canada, and there it is right in a federal act. So I'm not making this stuff up.
So what does RSCB5S10 at the bottom stand for?
That is that's like the code of the Bills of Exchange Act, the whole act.
So if somebody didn't believe what we're saying is true, how could they find this?
They could look up the Bills of Exchange Act.
And it'll be in federal, provincial.
This is a federal act. It's from 1800s.
And it's still, well, Canada wasn't a country till 1867.
Yeah, this would have been well. All of the Bills of Exchange Acts really stem from the English Bills of Exchange Act from the 1800s. So you'll see the same wording in this in particular, almost identical in almost every Bills of Exchange Act all across the world.
So not just the Commonwealth.
The whole well, the Commonwealth is a misnomer as well, because you'll find it in Hong Kong, which I don't think is Commonwealth anymore. They say it's not, but the Bills of Exchange Act is still alive and well, and it says almost identical to this. So there are countries that any country that has a Bills of Exchange Act, except South Africa. I couldn't find this particular section in South Africa, but the rest of them all have almost identical wording, like it's almost word for word.
So the universal UCC, the Universal Commercial Code, is tied to this somehow.
Yeah, that's here. So this is law merchant. They both say that law merchant is what's running things. Unless this act specifically says it's going to override the law merchant. The law merchant is what's running. And that's what I'm saying. It's in the background the whole time, and yet nobody knows about it. If you ask a lawyer about law merchant, they'll go, I don't know what you're talking about.
But the
And yet
judge,
here it is. It's written right in an American federal code and a Canadian federal act.
but the judges know.
The judges know. Most of them. Maybe not in traffic, but anybody running a criminal or a civil case in like in a provincial court, they know. And that's why they were running. See, this is what I saw, and then I went, okay, what's making you guys run? Like, what did I do? It can't be the, I can see the paper is what's doing it, but like, what is it on the paper that's making you so afraid? And so it's because of law merchant, they're exposed. They don't have a jurisdiction above this. This is it. This is their aces in their back pocket. You now have access to that. You're at that level, and they have nothing else they have nothing to get on top of you with. This is why I teach this.
So the buck stops here.
Yes, this is as far as they can go. If you go any further, you're now into off-planet or spiritual type laws. This is the highest that of man's laws that they can still have some control, but they got to hide this, because once you understand this, and then you start to I wonder if I've got so here's a typical bill of exchange from the 1800s.
I'm gonna go full screen on this if I can.
Sure.
We'll still be talking and listening.
Yeah. Here's another one. This one is partly Canada. Here's where I started to figure out that this is a big scam, like a big scam. So this is 1800s. This is in Miramichi, which is in New Brunswick. And this is a bill, pay to David. I don't know where this guy is, but it's written by James Kidson. I looked this family up. They were a merchant family. Merchants were, you had to be born a merchant. So this was like a grandson. And so he wrote a bill which became money. He paid for something on his good credit without a bank account. There's no bank account on this. His account is with his grandfather, who was the main merchant, Kidson, and he's in Glasgow, Scotland. So they were a Scottish family that kind of set up in Eastern Canada. And most of what they were doing in Eastern Canada had to do with South America. They were bringing wood products up from South America. So this guy could have been in South America, and he got paid 40 pounds shilling of silver on a piece of paper. And this would have passed around as if it was this 40 pounds of actual silver.
Actually, I got to correct you there. It says sterling, and sterling is 92.5% pure silver and 7.5% copper, I believe.
Yeah. So this was what I'm saying is this represented hard money, like silver coins, like shillings and pounds.
Yeah,
shillings and pounds, etc. Of English sterling, the sterling system. So the main thing is this was not metal. This was a piece of paper, and it acted as metal. So this guy could pass this piece of paper on as if it was a 40-pound, 10 shilling note. This is where this is where our dollar bills come from. It's from this. It's from the merchants were doing this. So this money was created on the spot. And this guy can go, or whoever gets this piece of paper can go to this guy and get this at any time after this date right here.
Or anybody else that possessed it, or
Yes, anybody. So this could pass as a negotiable instrument. This is what negotiable instruments were. You would just pass this, and then the other guy would look and see, okay, I see, I've heard of that guy in Glasgow. He's good for it. I'll accept this. And so this would pass around. And so how rich are you going to get if you keep passing around these pieces of paper and getting actual goods for them, and everybody's accepting these? So for this guy to go to all the way to Scotland to get paid, he's probably never going to get this paid. It's just going to keep passing around. And this guy gets the whatever he bought from it, the actual thing, but he didn't pay anything.
so
He just wrote this out.
So back in the early 80s, I was working on a deal to bring tons of aluminum coil from former Yugoslavia to Canada. And I was talking to a in-law of mine in Yugoslavia, and he was a banker for one of the states there, for the state banks. He says, "Yeah, we can do this deal. How are you going to pay for it?" And I told him a letter of credit. He said, "Okay, great." And the deal almost went through. We just couldn't agree on the price. I'm wondering if that's something similar.
It's something similar. This is a credit. This is where credit came from. These guys had credit. All these merchants. Not everybody had credit. That's another thing you got to understand. So what they did, though, because when you start to figure out that, hey, a lot of these things aren't coming back, and I've still got the silver here, and well, if I just keep putting these things out and I get all this stuff, like especially beaver pelts in Canada, I'm getting all the beaver pelts for pieces of paper, and then I'm selling the jackets and the hats and gloves and everything I'm making in Europe for silver. I'm gonna get rich because this all it's costing me is ink and paper.
Okay, so
see what's going on now. All they did was take that merchant thing on a small scale and turned it into banking, big scale, worldwide. Turned everybody into merchants with the birth certificate, and then started creating these pieces of paper, these negotiable instruments, and we're signing them, but we don't understand what we're signing, and we don't get the benefit of it. They do. And here's where it goes. So remember,
this is hang on, Kel. Yeah. I'm not the only one. Rob Ferris says I'm totally lost. Rob, you're gonna have to watch this episode over a few times.
Yes, you have to watch it over and over, because you're not hardly anybody can understand this on the first go. It's designed that way.
And this is my third time getting a presentation from Kel.
This is, again, in the Bills of Exchange Act, perfecting a bill. This is a bill of exchange. Now, remember, a bill of exchange is money. I'm going to go over that again, just so you get this. Financial Administration Act, Federal Act. You can look this up. Definitions. Money. This is the definition of money. Negotiable instrument. What's a negotiable instrument? A bill of exchange is a negotiable instrument. And if a bill of exchange is a negotiable instrument, then it's here. And a negotiable instrument is money. It is money. It does not to collect money. It is money. Just we're not up to speed on this. Only the merchant families understand this. They're hiding it. I'm trying to show you. That's why it's hard to see, because it's not meant to be found. So now let's go back to this. We're perfecting a bill of exchange. So we're creating money where a simple signature on a blank paper, you put your signature on a blank paper and it's delivered by the signer, or they get the piece of paper from you. Like if you left it on the table or you signed something because somebody said to sign it, and then you gave it to them. You need to rethink this. So it's delivered by the signer in order that it may be converted into a bill. Remember, a bill is money. Your signature can be converted into a bill of exchange. convert it into money. So now you've got a blank piece of paper. It operates in the absence of evidence to the contrary. So unless there's some writing on the paper that says non-negotiable or something like that, it acts as an authority to fill it up as a complete bill for any amount, using the signature for that of the drawer, acceptor, or endorser. You can figure that all out later. It doesn't really matter. And in like matter, when a bill is wanting in any material particular, so if there's a date missing or a name missing or a signature missing, the person in possession of it has, in the absence of evidence to the contrary, so unless it says non-negotiable or something like that on there, they can fill it up, the omission, any way they see fit. This is what's going on, people. Your signature is being turned into bills of exchange, which is money, after the fact. So when you're signing something, somebody can go after you've signed it and write in, oh, there's a date missing, I'll just write that in. Oh, there's an amount missing, well, I'll just write in whatever I feel like writing it in. And that's how the banking system works. This is how law merchant works.
And
So
this is how they make money out of thin air.
Yes. And we're all part of it. We just don't understand it. We're not taught it. Lawyers are, I'm telling you, lawyers are not taught this. Just like doctors are not taught about nutrition.
Well, they are. It's just for like half a day.
Yeah. What they're taught is pills, pharmaceuticals. Lawyers are taught acts. And when you become a judge, okay, now we have to fill you in a little bit. There's this thing called law merchant, and there's bills of exchange and all. That's when they get the upgrade.
And at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Everything is about money. And here for Canadians is the key to this. So again, this is 5 shillings sterling. And this is a promise. So this is not a bill of exchange. This is a promissory note. So they promise to pay the bearer. So anybody that has this, it's not even a name on it. So there's no, you don't have to endorse it. Just like a $20 bill, you don't have to endorse $20 bills. You just pass it to the next person or pass it to the store or to the movie theater, whatever it is. And they go, oh yeah, that's $20. And then they stick it in their pocket and then they go and spend it somewhere else. And it just keeps going around and around and around. That's a bearer note. So this is a bearer note. So any bearer that has this piece of paper can demand the sum of 5 shillings at the York factory in Rupert's Land. So this is like a long time ago, before Canada. This was Canada. The Hudson Bay Company was the government of what we now know as Canada.
Well, actually, Rupert's Land was like northern half of Ontario, a bit of Quebec, and then Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, and I think it might have even touched into British Columbia.
No, it didn't go into British Columbia at all. Here it is right here. So this is the Rockies. Nothing in British Columbia is part of the Rupert's Land. And that's why we're having, these native issues here in Vancouver, because it looks like the Hudson Bay Charter was sold. So we have a new owner of this whole corporation. And now they have to kind of write things, because on paper, none of this existed. They kind of stole this. So only the bottom part of Alberta, most of Saskatchewan, and all of Manitoba, what would be Manitoba, it went down into what is now the United States. And then you had Upper and Lower Canada, and you had Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, which were provinces. So that's these things here. But Rupert's Land was any river that went into the Hudson Bay from its start. So all the rivers here all go here. Rivers here go there, and rivers here go up. So they didn't count. So this was Rupert's Land. And there's the York factory in what would be northern Manitoba. So that's where you had to go. You had to, if you wanted to get paid the actual silver, you had to go to the York factory in Rupert's Land, and then they would give you a bill of exchange, which we just described, payable 60 days after sight. So once you present it, They had 60 days to come up with the silver at the Hudson Bay House in London. So this note, you had to walk or canoe or whatever, or dog sled up to here. Then they would take your piece of paper, give you another piece of paper that you had to get on a boat and go all the way over to England. Once you got to England, they had 2 months to actually give you the silver. So very few of these would have been paid. You just wouldn't do it.
But it's circulated. You can give it to other people, and other people use it to give to somebody else.
Exactly. So they were getting all the beef pelts and all that out of here, and everything that came out of here on pieces of paper with signatures on them. That's how they got rich. They just took that very thing and turned it into banking on a worldwide scale, and turned us all into merchants so that our signature was, they could use our signature. That's the scam. So here's a promissory note definition. It's an unconditional promise, not an order in writing. So the one who's promising signs it, and nobody else can really sign it. It's an IOU. So that's sort of the background on this. Here's just a sort of a thing where this is in the Bills of Exchange Act, where in a bill, drawer and drawee. So that's who's paying and who's
who's receiving,
who could be receiving, because you can make a bill out to yourself, right? That's the thing. If it's the same person, so you can make a bill that you're the payer and the payee. Remember, a bill is money, so you can literally draw up a bill. Yeah, Ed, pay Ed $100, and it's $100 to the merchants. So, or where the drawee is a fictitious person, so a totally made up person, Mickey Mouse, or a person not having the capacity to contract. So, like a child or somebody who's not mentally fit. The holder may treat the instrument, the money, at his option as either a bill or a note. This is what's written in the acts, in this Bills of Exchange Act. They're getting away with plunder that you wouldn't believe, and it's all in the acts, but nobody reads this stuff. There's a Bank of Scotland. This is a Republic of Texas. Promised to pay $10. That's another bill of exchange. This is a bill of exchange. This is a bill of exchange by Benjamin Franklin, payable to Benjamin Franklin. So he knew about him. He knew about it. This is $5, promised to pay $5. So this was what was passed around as money, and the Treasury held the actual silver and or gold. Most of it was silver in the beginning. So here's where it starts to look like what we know as money. So this is the United States of America, $50 in coins. So you could literally go and get your coins.
Okay, so this is before the Jekyll Island occurred, and this is before 1913, correct?
Correct. So we're going to get into that. So this is how it worked. It was right. Every piece of all these pieces of paper had silver at the Treasury that you could go and get at any time, and they wouldn't issue. They might have issued a percentage more than the silver allotted, but not how it is now. So here's where the Federal Reserve comes in 1913. And this is a Federal Reserve note. This is a Treasury note. You see? So now they've taken the money issuance from the Treasury, and now it's the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank.
Yeah, guys, Federal Reserve is as federal as Federal Express is.
Exactly.
Or McDonald's. It's as federal as Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's nothing really
Yeah,
tied to the government, except for maybe the fact that the government in 19, I forget what year it was Christmas Eve, where they
yeah,
legalized this legislation in the States.
exactly. So that's when this came about. So, but even this first notes, these are hard to find. This is still redeemable in gold at the U.S. Treasury. So this is when they first came in, they were still, everything was still backed by gold until this 1933. This is where they take the money off gold. So now all they're doing is copying what happened in Rupert's Land, where they made it difficult for you to get the silver. Now they're making it impossible. So now they can just keep writing these pieces of paper like crazy and getting all the goods, and we're just running around passing around debt notes. So this is where it changed. So after this in 1933, now it says legal tender. It doesn't say redeemable in gold. Right there in the same spot. So this is not redeemable in gold. This one was. They're both Federal Reserve notes.
And yet Morgan dollars were actual, I forget what
So
amount. I think it could have been 92.5% silver, but
yeah.
don't quote me on that.
So here's where it happened in Canada. It was actually 1933. This is the second one. They did it twice. They did it for a year in 1933, and then they did it for another year, taking the money off gold. This was meant to be temporary. This was like during COVID, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. So this was, if you look at the 1933 one, they actually had typed in that they were going to take money off gold for 6 months. Then they scratched it out and wrote in 1 year. And then in 1934, when that one expired, they did it again. So for another year. But this is the last you hear of it. They just kind of left it off gold. And so here in 1939, this guy from Vancouver, they had a parliamentary inquiry because, hang on, you guys said you were going to take it off for a year, but it hasn't gone back on. So where's all this money coming from? So by 1939, a few people are going, hey, something's up. Like, what are you guys doing? How does this work? Because there's money coming out of the Bank of Canada, but we're not on gold. So who's in control of this? And so you should read this. You can get this. Here's the website for that. And especially this guy, it's a pretty big document. Like it went over a period of weeks, I think. But look up this guy's questioning, because he was on it, and he asked some very pointed questions and got very pointed answers. Here's another one. This is
Cal,
a case. Yep.
I don't want to interrupt, but it's 8:58 here, so I don't know what your time is like.
I'm at 8:56, so I can go a couple more minutes here. So this is Bank of Canada versus Bank of Montreal, and you should get these because they kind of hide these. These are hard to Google. Put it that way. They don't want you looking at this stuff. So actually write down these links. So the Bank of Canada versus Bank of Montreal was basically the Bank of Montreal ordered a bunch of $5 bills to put into circulation from the Bank of Canada. And the delivery truck ended up in an accident and caught on fire and burned a bunch of the $5 bills. So they wanted the Bank of Canada to issue new $5 bills based on a section in the Bills of Exchange Act, where if something gets mutilated or lost or destroyed, that it can be replaced. The Bank of Canada argued that no, this is not a promissory note. This is money. And this is what we think. And the court found, yes, it is money, but it's also a promissory note based on the Bills of Exchange Act. So they had to give them new $5 bills. This is Duplain versus Cameron. This went all the way all through court appeals. I think it started in Saskatchewan. It was a civil case between two litigants. One guy wrote promissory notes, and there was appeals and back and forth and countersuits. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court of Canada, and in the determination from the Supreme Court of Canada, a couple of the justices said, and you can quote them, Canadians can pay debts with promissory notes, and they can't overturn this. This is Supreme Court of Canada. And so I've seen it where judges, I mean, the whole court almost wants to run out of the room because somebody's got a promissory note in there, and with DePlane versus Cameron written on it. That was the first time we've seen that. So this is what we're doing. We're taking these four weapon systems that are happening in the world. They're happening everywhere in the world, and we're getting them into an agreement under this commercial law, under law merchant, so that we can bill them a daily fee, and we send them a bill about once a month. Well, those bills are bills of exchange because it's an order to pay. And of course, if you understand what a bill of exchange is, it's money. So we're actually creating money the way that they did for centuries. And we're now doing it back to them based on these four things. So this is what happens. We do a notice of liability. We get them to answer the liability, answer the affidavit in the notice of liability, proving that all four of these things are safe. Smart meters, 5G, vaccinations, and the spraying in the air. They have to prove these are safe. Otherwise, they have to stop doing it, or we're going to bill them a daily fee. So they get it's a 3-step process, like a regular administrative process. Then we bill. And the bill of exchange is money. I'm going to repeat it again. It's going to be hard for you to understand. So this is a bill made out to Justin Trudeau before he stepped down. It's $4.9 million. This is actually my bill. My name's not on it because we took it off, but I know this is my bill. So I sent him these bills, and then there was anyway. So this is what's happening every 30 days or so. Periodically, we send bills to these people. Also, Freeland was on my list, so I had Trudeau and Freeland in them, and both of them stepped down. We're up to 48 billion now. This thing is a bit old. We're doing about a billion almost every 3 weeks, faster than a month, but not quite 3 weeks yet. So when we started, it took us 9 months to get the first billion, 5 months to get the second billion, and now we're almost at 3 weeks for a billion, with about 400 people sending. We can literally bill the system, take all the wealth out of the system based on their system. So this is going back to this is like an Aikido move, a jiu-jitsu move. It's their force, or their actions we're just using them against them. So if they stop, we stop. If they keep going, we keep going. And so it's a really balanced and spiritually sound way of dealing with an assailant.
Okay, so when is if somebody wants more information, where do they go?
Inpowermovement.org.
Okay, I'm going to type that into our chat, so hopefully INPOWER.org.
Yeah.
Empower.org.
Empowermovement.org.
MOVEMENT. All right, guys, here you go. Cal, you think we can get you on in the next another couple weeks or something?
Yep.
What happened? Where'd everyone go?
I'm still here. I took this share screen off. There you go.
Oh, we got a few people putting it up here.
There you go.
Empowermovement.org. Thank you for that quick play-by-play. And I'm sure a lot of people you are going like this. I'm
Yeah,
still going like this.
I
It'll be
I
clear.
did I did too, because we're trained a certain way. We're trained to be the mark. We're trained to be the slave, the one that gets ripped off. It's like a big
Yeah.
it's like a big con thing, and we're the mark.
All right.
Yeah, and the rest of them are all in on it. High politics, high finance, and high corporate world. They all understand this.
So the big bankers, the top of the bankers know this, the top judges know this, the top
Yeah.
politicians know this.
Yes.
Christia Freeland knows about this because she was the
Yes.
minister of finance.
Yes.
And the Rothschilds use this to create money out of thin air, and we can do it too now.
Yes, we can, because of the 4 things that they're using as weapons, and they're moving them commercially. See, if it was just armies coming through, that's a whole other level. That's a whole other jurisdiction, and you can't deal with it that way. Like, you can't stop tanks and go, I got this piece of paper, and like they're just gonna like. But because they're getting us to agree to these things, like even the shots where they had commercials out there hugging your grandma and the nice music and all, they were selling it.
I didn't buy it.
No, I know, but a lot of people did. But the point is they're deploying weapons using commercial means, and it was a clever move, but it's also their weak spot. Now they have no defense if people figure out how commerce works, especially law merchant. They're really done. They got nothing else. This is it. Like, once you found their hidden aces in their pocket, the game's over.
Well, I'm happy to announce I only got a tiny headache this time. First time I heard this, I had a splitting headache. I'm not kidding, guys.
I know that's a good thing. That means different neurons are firing in your brain, because it's reprogramming.
Okay, we got to get you on again.
We've been programmed, man. Like, that's why it's hard for you to grasp this. I know what's happening. We've been told from little age all these things, and we believe them so hard we don't even know that they're there. And that's the I'm trying to break that. So it can cause a headache, literally.
Okay, how about wet ink signature can pay as well?
A wet ink signature pays, yes, because that's Section 30 of the Bills of Exchange Act. That's
okay, guys. Again, we're getting shadow banned hard. Share this out, guys. Warn people that you're going to get a headache first time you're going to hear this. Hopefully, we'll get Cal back again, and we can all figure this out together. And who knows? Maybe we can gain our prosperity back.
Yes, we can.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Cal, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
All right. Enjoy the sun. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Again, as I said earlier, Stefanos, he's tied up with legal matters. I think he's waiting for the cops, I believe. And there's an issue going on again with someone's just stepping out of line big time. That's why he was unable to join us tonight. I'm sure he'll be back this coming Thursday. Another shout out I got to give to momsresist.ca. These guys are they're coming after, they want to stop trafficking of kids, abuse of kids. If you got time, go take a look at momsresist.ca. Monique's doing a great job. And this is all with protecting the children. There's groups unifying across the country. What we're coming across, if anyone's taking the time to look at the Epstein files, and if you think about it, that is why we're at war. Well, the Americans are at war with Iran, because everyone's looking at that. No one's paying attention to the Epstein files. It's a lot worse than you think, guys. Take a look at that. Anyways, short one tonight. Share this out again, please, if you can. I know it's going to give you a headache. Gave me one hell of a headache first time I heard about it. But yeah, we have been programmed, and it's legit. You've seen the receipts there. You've seen the bills of exchange. You've seen how far back this goes, and you know why they're keeping it quiet. Knowledge is power. Share this, guys. Share this out, guys. We'll see you next Thursday. Later.